Okay, so now we're just gonna fix a few miscellaneous things. So I'm noticing that this is longer. The create new post is longer than the actual posts. The reason why this is happening is because we have our post container and new post container set at a width 50%, but we actually want to be posts container and new post container at width 50%. So we're gonna go and search for new dash post dash container until we find our margin left. Okay. So we want that to be posts container. All right, so now we're just gonna fix up some miscellaneous things. So I'm noticing that this is a little bit longer. The create new post is a little bit longer than our actual posts. The reason why is because we have our post container and new post container having a width of 50%, but that's supposed to be posts container, not new post container that has a width of 50%. So if we change this to posts container and then refresh our page, cool. So everything looks like it's better. If we scroll down, there's a few problems though. And that's because we actually do want most of this to apply to post container, except for the width. We're gonna have a separate one for the width. So let's delete all this. We're gonna have posts container and new post container sharing a width of 50%. And then our post container and our new post container is going to share the rest of this content. So now let's try refreshing our page. Scroll down, everything should be good again. Then we're gonna notice if we click this toggle device toolbar, on mobile, it doesn't look very good. If we increase our width all the way to about 96%, that seems to make it look pretty good. But what I'd rather do is decrease it a little bit to maybe like 80%. And then move everything to the middle. Display flex, flex direction column, justify content center, align items center. We wouldn't want to include the nav bar in this, but then we could set the width to be a little bit bigger, but it will at least be in the middle. The only problem is if we switch back, it's going to be the same, which we don't want. So we're going to want to have a difference between our mobile CSS and our desktop CSS. So I'm just going to scrap these changes by refreshing the page, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're going to go to our index.html. So we're going to create a div that holds everything outside of the nav bar. So we're going to call this div class equals main dash container. And then we're going to copy everything else in the body into this container. And then we're going to go to our index.css and create a main dash container. And we're going to set it to display flex and flex direction column. Now if we refresh our page, we have to find that div, so main container, and we can see we have this display flex and this flex direction column. So now if we type in align item center, it will center it. However, we don't want it centered when we're in desktop mode. So now we're going to have to figure out the difference between desktop and mobile. So I'm going to go on to Google and I'm going to look up media queries CSS, because I don't actually know the syntax for it. Okay, so then we're going to copy this. Okay, so this is going to run these classes in here if the width of the screen is 600 pixels or lower. So in order to get the appropriate pixels, we're going to type in bootstrap screen sizes breakpoints. So extra small for phones is going to be less than 768 pixels. So max width of 768 pixels. So now If it is 600 or 768 pixels or lower, it will run this. So we are going to put in main container, and we're going to set align items to center. So now if we refresh our page, it did not have the desired effect, so I will look into that. Okay, so I figured it out. So in order to use the mobile mode in Google Chrome, you need to add this tag to your HTML file. So meta name equals viewport, content equals width equals device dash width, comma initial dash scale equals 1.0, end quotes. So just copy that exactly. And yeah, you can pause the video if you need to. And then you'll notice if we refresh the page, everything will be aligned in the middle. There's a few problems though. So we are going to want our width to be like 95%. And then we're not going to want our margin left to be there. So we're going to find this width 50%. Okay, and then we're going to add a media query up here. So if we're on mobile, then we're going to give our containers 95%. And if we are on desktop, so if min width is 1 greater, 769, then we will bring them to 50. So now if we refresh our page, that's working. And then if we do that, it's also working. So basically we have this query that says if our thing is or if our device is a phone, make our width 95%. If our device is a desktop, make our width 50%. So now we need to change our margin left. So where do we have that? It was in dash or dot posts container. So I guess let's just search for, oh, here it is. So we're going to get rid of this margin left. Actually, this is on the same thing as here. So what we can do here is set this to be margin left if we are on desktop. So we just removed the margin left from this and put it on our desktop only. Now if we refresh our page, margin left will not be there. But then if we go back to desktop mode, we will have a margin still. So then we just have this problem with this button. So we can set our width to be 100%. New dash post dash button. Width is 25%. We're going to cut that and go back up to our media query. On desktop, we want a 25%. On mobile, we want 100%. And then we're going to try and just keep these two media queries. So we're going to delete this one down here with the 768 pixels max width. And we're just going to add it right here. There, now we don't have a bunch of media queries. We only have two with our classes. So let's refresh our page. Okay, so that's looking a bit better. There's more things that we can do. We can make these comments, for example, 100% if we wanted to. So let's change our width. %, it seems. So I definitely, you know what, that might even look better on desktop. But I'm not going to do this, so I want you guys to style it however you think looks the best, because I've now showed you how to style in mobile. So try and make the site look as good as you possibly can and make as many changes to it as you want.